University in Bourbonais, Illinois. And today we are going to be discussing glazing techniques, the application of glazing, and special effects. These two pieces of pottery have been bisque fired. They have been through the first firing in the kiln that makes them hard enough, vitrified enough to resist moisture, water, whatever from passing through. You can always tell if it has a ring to it. And if at different temperatures, these things have a different ring to them. First thing that must be done is these must be run under the water faucet to remove any impurities, any wax on the surface, any dust particles and things like that. The other purpose is so that the glaze adheres to the surface of these pieces of pottery much better than if it was without. The glaze would stick to this and just soak right into the surface, and you would not have an even coating. So I'm first going to run it under the water faucet inside and out, shake it off like that. I'm getting rid of all dust, hopefully all fingerprints. Should be done in and out. The next thing is the glaze then, in new bottles or old, should be the consistency of heavy cream. If they are not, you can put a small amount of water in the bottle of glaze and then stir it up thoroughly. And in this case, I am going to pour some of this glaze into here so you can see the consistency that it is. This is almost too thick, but we'll make it work. And I am going to work it around the inside like this, all the way up to the edge. This is one of the fastest and the quickest ways to glaze a piece of pottery. And then I'm going to pour the excess back into the jar. And I'm going to shake it so that all excess is out of there. And when you pour glaze like this, you only need one coat. You can go back and make small adjustments in this with your fingers. You can even take a brush if it's too thick and take some of this out of there. I work this up around the rim like this. This piece of pottery, which has been done, demonstrates the fact that you have to keep the foot of your piece of pottery clean. You cannot have any glaze on this rim right here, or in the case of this, on this entire flat bottom. The reason is it would stick to the kiln shelf. We don't want that happening. And so, if you have glaze sticking to it, you simply take and you wipe the foot of the pot off like this, as much as a ½ inch up from the bottom, or at least an 1/8 of an inch. And that keeps the glaze from running onto the kiln shelf. This piece has pinholes in it. Before this had been fired, it would have been a good idea to take your finger and rub the glaze when it's dry and cover up those pinholes. When these glaze pieces are completed and they are dry to the touch, then it's time to put them on the shelf in the kiln. It's very important that these pieces do not touch each other on the shelf in the kiln, because glazes actually bubble and boil in the process of reaching its maximum temperature where the glaze is mature. And so if you can keep at least a finger width, at least a ½ inch between each piece of pottery, if they are too close or touching, they will actually reach across and touch each other, and they will fuse and look like Siamese twins. So it's a good idea to simply keep these an equal distance apart, and they should not overlap or touch. And remember, the most important thing is the foot of the piece of pottery must be clean so it does not stick to the kiln shelf. Now we are going to talk about the application methods of glazing. And the main methods of doing that are brushing, dipping, pouring, and spraying. I am going to demonstrate the brushing method and the dipping method. I already demonstrated how to do the pouring method, where I took the glaze directly from the jar, poured it into the container, worked it around to cover all aspects of the inside of the piece of pottery, and then I poured the excess back into the jar. Now, in order to do dipping, I actually have to take the glaze and pour it into a container like this, and then the area that I want dipped, which will provide a design all its own, comes up something like this on the side. It also coats the bottom of the foot, which is something we don't want, and I will show how to get rid of that. So this will provide a decoration all of its own, a pattern. I'll set that aside. I will pour this back into the bottle. And then I'm going to go to the next method, which is the brushing method. This is the one most commonly used for glazing pottery. I'm going to take the glaze. I'm going to load my brush, which is at least 1 inch, ½ inch stiff bristle, and I'm going to put my first application of glaze on. That should be applied with the brush strokes going one direction. Remember, I had already dampened this piece of pottery in the water faucet so that the glaze adheres much better. And I'm going to completely cover this all the way around once. Then I'm going to let it dry. And then I'm going to start all over again. The suggested number of coats of glaze for this one is 3. So by having the brush strokes go all one direction and completely coating the piece of pottery and letting it dry, then I will start again and go all the way around. If at any one of those stages that pinholes occur as the glaze is sticking to the piece of pottery, I can wait until it is totally dry, and then I can go back and take my finger and lightly cover those up so that you don't see them. Now, you notice the bottom of this piece of pottery has glaze on the foot. When I am completely done, I will take a wet sponge and I will remove that. I've gone all the way around once. I will now take my wet sponge and I will completely clean this off the bottom of the piece of pottery. And get it so that it is about 1/8 of an inch up the side.